right, we'll go ahead and get going. Thank you all for coming. This is our inaugural, we refer to them as bottle babies here at the shelter, our inaugural bottle baby training. And what we're really talking about are young kittens that are too young, have been separated from their mama, and they're too young to start eating on their own. So when they come in, they need some human assistance. The three of us up here are Wake County fosterers. I'm Susan Bray. I've been fostering for 9 years.
I'm Diana Salidas. I've been fostering for about 6 years.
And I'm Lisa Felkins. I've been fostering for 10 years.
Yeah. So we've had quite a few bottle babies in our homes. Back in the day, it was like, here's the baby, here's some KMR, good luck with that. So we're really trying to advance this process and help make people more comfortable so that they will raise their hand to say, yes, I can try that. Yes, I know a little bit about this. I can go ahead and do that, and that'll allow us to save more babies. As I mentioned, being at Wake County, come on in. Being at Wake County, we might reference some Wake County protocols. If you are fostering for another rescue group, they might have slightly different protocols. Just always follow what protocols that you are given. And we have some live demo kittens here tonight, so mostly what we're going to do is let you guys practice. But I'm going to start with the last thing on this list, and that's respect the quarantine. As I mentioned earlier, kittens born outside to a mama that we perhaps don't have any history on might never have nursed on a mama that had any antibodies. Maybe mama was never vaccinated against some of the viral diseases out there, the most lethal of which is panleukopenia. So we always assume when we get a kitten in that there's the potential, and we keep them quarantined. The Wake County quarantine is 2 weeks. I personally have kitten clothes, an old t-shirt, an old pair of scrubs that can go in the bleach. And about every 2 days, I'm bleaching everything. I'm bleaching the environment. I even wear special socks when I walk into the bathroom so that I can take those off when I walk out into the rest of my house. Yeah.
Real fast, I am fostering a kitten currently. Can I not touch?
Yes, you're just gonna wash everything when you get home. Yep.
Splendid. Just wanted to double check.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. So always respecting that quarantine and making sure that you always remember you're a fomite. Once you touch these kittens, panleukopenia in particular is transmitted through feces, and kittens will poop and walk right through their poop, and then they climb on you, and then they want to kiss you, and you pick them up, and so you can see where it's important that that we keep a protocol. And personally, I always keep my kittens exclusively in a bathroom because that is totally washable and bleachable. Where do you keep your kittens?
I actually have a designated nursery for the kittens, and they are in quarantine spaces inside the nursery. Yeah. And everything is washable. Yeah. And we have designated slippers and clothes and everything like that too.
No scratching posts or anything that can't be, either that or you throw it out. If the
it
kitten
can get thrown in the tub with some
bleach. Yeah. And where do you keep your kittens?
So I have bathroom kittens, and when they're this tiny, until they start moving around, they stay in their crate.
Yeah.
So I have bathroom kittens, and I'm just started this weekend trying a pack and play.
Oh, okay.
Which I'll be able to take outside, hose down, bleach when they're all done with it.
I have a double crate. I use that when my kittens are a little older. It's plastic, so it's completely bleachable. But you'll notice that when they bring these in their carriers, when kittens, depending on the age that you might eventually foster, their body heat is very important. They lose body heat very quickly. So the smaller the area, the more you have a chance of keeping that ambient temperature warm, then moving to larger crates as they get older and they're better able to regulate. One of them.
I just wanted to touch something up on the quarantine too, and when you're cleaning and disinfecting, that you have to do soap and water, rinse, and use a disinfectant and let that sit. Something like rescues, what the shelter uses, let that sit for 5-10 minutes depending on the disinfectant that you use. Soap and water by itself is not going to kill anything.
Right.
You have to use a disinfectant. And you can't use the disinfectant on already soiled materials like a litter box, so you have to make sure that you get that all off with soap and water. So it is a 2-step process to make sure that you clean and sanitize everything properly.
You're absolutely correct. So you're presented with a baby. Here's some things that need to be in your toolbox. One is a safe disc warmer. These are made specifically for young animals. heating pads are very dangerous. They can overheat. And then when the kittens get a little bigger, they love to chew. And the last thing you want them to do is chew through a cord. So these go into the microwave for 5 minutes, and then they slip into their washable cover. And then I always put this under a blanket to have a double layer. But you'll come in and you'll find them all piled up on their little heating disc. So it provides some of that body heat regulation that they desperately need. Another thing in your toolkit is a very small kitchen scale. There's lots of them out there. They're so small that most of the other scales can't differentiate between.
Weigh in grams.
In grams, that's the most specific that you can get. And this one, has different units. It'll have pounds and ounces, but really when you get a 2-week, 3-week-old kitten, we're really talking, they're 200 grams.
200 grams,
Yeah. So a small kitchen scale would be very important. They will often come in covered with fleas. It's not always a good idea to immerse them in water to get all those fleas and the flea dirt off, because they're gonna get hypothermic very quickly. So using a wet washcloth, using a flea comb to get as much of the dirt and the live fleas off, and then using a blow dryer far enough away so you never want them to get too hot, but getting them dried as quickly as possible. It's important to get the fleas off, because some of these guys are extremely anemic. When they come in, maybe they've been outside and they've been covered with fleas, and the fleas are taking all of their blood.
Yeah,
so
they're super tiny.
It puts them very much at risk. So getting them clean when you get them home is really important, because you can bottle feed them all you want, but if they're covered in fleas and they're losing something as important as their little bit of blood, then that's pretty dangerous. Other things are the shelter uses these nursing kits. I have quite the collection of all the nipples that I have never used, right? There's only 1 or 2 in here.
And you can also pick these up at Walmart or any like
online
Tractor Supply, Amazon.
Yeah. The bottles do have, it's unfortunate it's on the back and I don't want to open this up. The bottles come in.
It's 60.
Oh, I was going to say, I have the ones that have the little lines. You don't have lines on
So
yours?
they have lines, but they're not printed lines.
Okay.
So the old lady in me has to look down my nose at it.
I think they're 4 ounce.
It's always a good idea when you mix your formula and it's a 2-to-1 ratio. It's 1 scoop. It doesn't matter if you're using a tablespoon or the scoop that comes in the jug, as long as you're keeping it consistent. One unit of the powdered KMR, which stands for kitten milk replacer, and to 2 water. Don't use hot water. Again, we don't want to take the risk of burning their mouths and their throats with this. So tepid water is just fine. Mix it till it's mixed up. If you've already prepared them, that's great. But remember, you have to use it within 24 hours of mixing it. So don't make too much until you really get a sense of how much they're going to go through in a 24-hour period. But Lisa, Lisa tipped me off to this brilliant idea. I had never done this before. She saves the cans, and then it's easy to stack. They don't tip over. And she can put some warm water in there, and that, much like a baby's bottle, just use warm water to heat it up.
And I also, if you'll hold the can, I also, so I have 2 different sets, and so they can't interact and they can't share nipples. So I put cable ties on the bottles for 1 set, so that I know whose bottles are whose, and everybody in my house knows.
I use colored nail polish.
Oh, okay.
And everything's color coded, even their litter scooper. So you don't contaminate using 1 scoop to scoop another litter. So all my kittens are color coded.
That's a really good point. If you have other cats in the house, you're not going to use the same scooper and go around and scoop all the boxes as well as your quarantined kittens. Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean you have to buy new nipples every time?
No, you can clean them.
You can wash them. It's just that you wouldn't feed 1 set of kittens with this one and then go and feed another set with it. You want to make sure that they have their own set to drink from.
I'm going to pass this around because this has different holes cut on the top so that you can see. Yeah.
There's water in it, so just be careful. Can I show one other?
Sure, yeah,
tip that I
absolutely.
love? So if your kitchen scale has an ml version for measurement, you can put it on ml and you can measure your bottle before you feed them, and then you can remeasure it after you feed them to know how much they took, which when they're super tiny, you need to know if they're getting enough, and that's a way to do that.
There's a
besides eyeballing.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a chart on here that starts with kittens in the 200 gram range and how much they need to drink of the KMR. Please do not use cow's milk, goat's milk.
Puppy replacer.
Yeah, it's got to be very breed specific. So kitten milk replacer is what you're looking for if you go into a pet store or are shopping online.
And I'm just gonna pass my bottle around too. My nipple is different than theirs. This is very similar to a mother's teats of what they would be naturally nursing on. So some of the pickier kittens tend to take to those nipples a lot better if you have a pickier.
And the tinier ones, I find it fits in their mouth better.
Yeah.
Once they get bigger, they can handle these bigger
Yes.
ones. Yeah.
It's actually called Miracle Nipple, and somebody turned me on to this like a year after and I'm like, where has this been my whole life? It makes a huge difference.
Yep.
They're sold with a 3 ml syringe. So as they are sucking and they're creating a vacuum, the whole syringe draws down. It's brilliant. I like this because it's dangerous to squeeze a bottle while they're, maybe they're slow, maybe they're not quite as vigorous at suckling. It's tempting to squeeze the bottle, but if it shoots to the back of their throat, they can very easily aspirate it, and then we have a whole nother set of problems. The Miracle Nipple with the 3 ml syringe will help you measure how much they're having because it draws it down as they are sucking on it, and then you just keep refilling it. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, real quick, what does aspirate mean?
Aspirate means instead of going into the esophagus and down to the stomach, it goes into the trachea and into the lungs.
So they're inhaling it as opposed to drinking.
Yeah,
That's kind of what I see.
yeah. Don't hesitate to ask questions, folks.
And these nipples.
Go ahead. The water wasn't very warm. It was actually cold. Is that how they take the milk?
It was warm when I put it in there, but there are 4 cold bottles, so I'll probably put more warm milk and more warm water in there.
I would honestly say, I don't know about you guys, better to be a little too cold than a little too hot.
I try to like when they first come in, they want that warmth because that's what they're used to with mom. And then I try to get them to room temperature over a couple of days.
Yeah. If there is unused formula, you can put it back in the refrigerator, but again, remember the 24-hour limit. And if they've already sucked on the bottle, the acids in their saliva can cause the milk to turn and can break down the proteins in there, so better to just throw it out and make fresh.
I like to put it in here in the shaker. It helps break up all the clumps, and then you can store it here. So you only fill over what you need, and then you can refrigerate this.
Yeah, that's what yes, thank you. It's when I said you could store what you don't use, not from the bottle.
So if they're already drinking from this, then you want to disregard what's in here.
Just throw it out.
So this is OXO. It's a condiment thing, and the smaller tip on it is easier to get into the bottle.
That's a great idea.
Because I'm really messy and clumsy.
Anybody here bottle feed human babies? Okay, so this, when you buy it in a kit, it comes with a brush. The milk has natural oils in it, fats and oils in it, which is part of what the baby needs. And much like a human bottle, you have to end up using soapy water and scrub because those fats and oils, again, can get pretty rancid pretty quickly. So if you buy the kit, don't lose the little scrubby brush because that is really helpful for cleaning out your bottles. All right, any questions? Otherwise, I think we're gonna get to the fun hands-on stuff. And I also, for those of you that are Wake County fosterers, fleece are wonderful. They help them retain their body heat, it's nice and comfortable. I have a whole boatload of random fleeces from over the years, but those I find best. Towels can kind of be scratchy sometimes. Fleece is really good. It helps to really hold in that body heat. All right.
If you have old sweaters that you're going to donate anyway, you can also cut your sweaters up. So my babies live with cashmere. It's the same with the fleece. It's soft. It reminds them of mama. So it gives them some comfort to be wrapped up in it.
Okay. Do these guys have names?
Yes, but of course, I named them Stripe, Gray Stripe, White Stripe. Those have names.
Is there anybody here that is not interested?
Oh, baby. Sorry.
That is not.
I
They
know.
get pretty vocal pretty quick. Is there anybody here that's not interested in holding a kitten for whatever reason? And I think we have enough.
Are we gonna do, mine need to be.
Okay, yes, and then we're also going to talk about stimulating the babies. When a baby is first born and they're feeding and they're nursing off of mama, mama licks them when they're done and cleans externally, but it also stimulates the urge to pee and poop. So without mama there, you got to do it. So we're also
What are you doing again?
you stimulate them to pee and poop because mama does that for the first couple weeks of their life. We will demonstrate. Yeah, yeah. Oh, she gave you the pretty one.
Oh, these are all gorgeous. So that's the one girl in this bunch.
All right, you're gonna get yours over there.
You're gonna want to put the paper towel under it. Hold on, don't let it go away. You can wrap them in that if you want to.
And again, please remember everything. If you have felines at home, everything goes in the wash.
I will take a little gray stripe. Hello, little chunky baby.
That means Lisa's been doing a good job.
Yes. That is the goal, isn't it? To make
Yes.
them happy, healthy, and chunky.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, you guys are precious.
So
You guys all have your voices.
you are the last one in this bunch for quarantine, so don't pass this guy that way.
Mine aren't that loud.
Huh?
Mine aren't that loud yet.
You're pretty fast.
Oh, the little antenna toes. If you want to take a bottle and pass it down, because this is low.
I tickled my throat at once.
Oh yes. All right, never hold them like a baby doll, like on their back, because again, when they're swallowing, we want them to not choke on them. So you're going to hold them somewhat upright.
So like upright,
And if you see Diana over there, almost like in a sitting position.
When you see where their ears start to wiggle, that means that they have.
So you just put it in her mouth and
Don't squeeze. Mm-mm. Excellent. Now, they're a little older. At 3 weeks, they start to lose their sucking reflex and they start to chew on the bottles. That's a good clue that you are soon to have gruelies, which means they're going to move up to some KMR mixed in with some soft baby food or soft kitten food.
Mine's like chewing. She's not.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Lisa, are these guys over 3 weeks? Because they're chewing? Okay.
Yes.
Just do the best you can. Resist the temptation to squeeze.
I'm not gonna.
Tip the bottle a little more. So always double check.
Okay.
And we have a black one.
Okay.
So it's dripping.
Yeah.
Like sweetie,
And
sweetie.
then as they get older, you can start to see their
I
stripes.
promise, it's in there.
So even though they're just chewing on it,
you
they're still
guys-
getting
Yeah, they get some. Yeah.
So I usually stimulate before I feed, but you can do it either way. They're happy. No, they're happy you're feeding them, but you're gonna want to take something damp, and the ones that aren't peeing on their own yet, you literally need to wipe their private area gently, very gently, and it will make them pee. And they'll assume the position, and then they'll pee for you, and you can feel it because it's warm on your hand. Pee is sterile. It's okay.
I will tell you that the urge to poop
That's it.
usually kicks in 20 to 30 minutes after eating. So don't keep going.
Is that
I love those where they're so dated that their eyes are like all black. It's just so cute. I have a question.
Sure.
So I recently.
Hold on. Poor baby. Lisa, did you bring scissors to cut this?
This one doesn't have a, let me go get scissors. These are the two that we got because I only had 5 at home.
Okay.
So I just got.
Did everybody get?
All right, so your question?
Well, I recently had a gruel baby.
Okay.
And, I did stimulate her to go to the bathroom because it had been like 6 hours and she hadn't gone.
That's not unusual. They start to
Okay.
learn to hold it and their bladders get a little bigger.
I just wasn't sure, so I hadn't helped her, but she did a funny thing where she'd just like roll over on her.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that like a common thing?
They're all kind of different.
When
Alright,
they're
I was just
done
curious,
tomorrow
'cause I thought it was
and
funny.
theirs, I texted Deandra
You
to
clearly
ask for sisters,
I don't think you are
but
interested in
you
this
can
anymore.
use any
The
of
little
those
one doesn't
bottles.
seem interested.
Okay. Hey, Lisa,
Stared off into space.
this orange one, is this part of this litter?
No.
Different litter?
You-
Okay.
Doesn't seem particularly interested.
How about if we switch over to a,
I mean, he might just be like, he also mine like to be like,
Oh, more swaddle baby.
they're
Lisa spoils them rotten. Thank you. And Diana, can you come? I have two nipples here. If you could insert them onto her bottles. Thanks, Deidre.
So I literally just barely cut the tip off. All right, there you go.
And then this is Robin's.
He says no.
He says no? Maybe if you could swap out that or let Diana do it. She knows how to put the miracle.
Yeah, do you want to put one of these on there instead?
Yeah.
Just for the fun of it? Yes.
There you go. Oh.
Do I just stimulate him with this?
So
Do you want me to put on that one? Which one do you want me to do?
One of the ones that was having difficulty getting them to suckle.
The dry one is to catch the pee, and the wet one is to stimulate. Yeah. And then
So yours wasn't interested? Okay, all right. Let's try this.
Let's release, please. All the little
and then he'll like raise his
claws.
All right.
Every time I get one, did you manage?
Whoop, sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
Here, why don't you try this? See if you can get him interested in it.
He does fine with that nipple. Okay. He just might be, you know, this is new and different for them to be in a room.
He's
full
like,
of
there's
people.
too much attention here.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to eat.
And it's kind of cool too.
How's yours doing?
He says no.
This one's chewing there, chewing it.
I think there are things to explore.
Yeah, that's why I brought their blankets, thinking that might help.
So a lot of you are experiencing what those of us that foster a lot discover, and they have minds of their own.
2 a.m.
At 2 a.m. when they'll take like a couple of swallows and then it's like, oh, you're here to play. And they're done eating and they want to just cuddle or play. Feeding, it's much like with a human baby. It takes a while to get to know their rhythms. It takes a while for you to get a rhythm. It is practice. And what we want you guys to do is to realize that there's help, that, you know, you can take home the sheet of tips. There's help. We're going to post this video on through the county website, through the Friends group. We'll share this information. But the fact that you all just got comfortable holding them and trying the bottle, and you now know a couple things to do and to not do, is great. Mission accomplished. But having done several hundred kittens and many of those bottle babies, some of them are ravenous and they eat wonderfully every time, and others are the pickiest little guys that you could ever meet, and you wonder how they're ever going to grow because it just takes forever to get them to finish a bottle. But that's what they do.
And I would add that every day is different.
Yeah.
So that guy yesterday was the one that, like, you
Going
know,
down.
he would have one-handed it if I'd just given it to him. And then today he's like, I'm not too hungry today.
I will share my tip on stimulating. I find that to get them to defecate, I hold them, when they're done eating, I hold them a little more prone, and I take a wet washcloth and I go through the groin, the lower abdomen and the groin, because what that does, it'll stimulate the large bowel to start moving, and then they generally poop at that point. She was talking about doing more of the external stimulation, and that's great for urination. Sure.
Do these need to pee in poo right now?
It looks like she already did.
Yes, she peed, but she didn't.
She's okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
they didn't need to do both.
Don't want, do
She
you?
wants more now.
Yeah, she's feeling a little scared.
You'll want to put him on the
I know where your
so
buddies
it
are.
touches it? Yeah, you had one.
Oh, I did.
So
I didn't know.
you'll just want to
Yeah.
make sure it catches the pee.
Okay.
No. I'm gonna say my youngest daughter, there's too much excitement around here, I don't wanna eat right now.
And sometimes, so the other part that besides all the technical stuff is with ours at our
I
house.
have my own at home.
When we're done feeding, we give each of them a little cuddle for a couple of minutes. Even if everybody else is crying, like their moms bathe their faces and bathe their bottoms and they cuddle with them. And so we want to make sure that we do that part too. Because everybody, it just makes them feel safer and more secure to have that.
Socialization is a lot of what this is all about too. It's feeding them to keep them alive, but also socializing them that humans are good at making them, yeah.
Pick up disposable toothbrushes from the Dollar Tree, and I use that to brush and stimulate them because that symbolizes the mother's
Okay,
touch.
yeah, the mother's tongues are rough. So that's why I use a washcloth, because it's got a little texture to it.
If you can chew my finger, you can chew that.
Robin's just here to cuddle.
He quit eating stuff.
But socialization is huge. That is a big part of your role with these guys is nutrition to keep them alive, but
It's not a toy.
If they're drinking really well, they can chug it in a minute, and if they're picky, it can take
did you get
them
yours, or is it just too
longer.
busy?
I actually
Okay.
feed everybody one round, and when they say they're done, I put them down and go to the next one. And then I go back and offer everybody a second chance, because not everybody eats well that first round. So I give everybody at least 2 rounds.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just curious because he's taking.
I think we have a winner over there. Did that kitten go through most of that bottle?
I know, I only filled it up.
Oh, I was gonna say, wow.
Yeah, that's a very good point, you guys. We didn't tell you, these guys probably are only gonna take about this much to this much per feeding. So it's okay if they stop eating.
Their tummies, think about how tiny their tummies are. They're about the size of my fingernail at this stage. So you don't want to, that's another reason to not squeeze the bottle, because you can make them very uncomfortable and painful if you try to get too much milk into them.
And that's also why they need to be fed every 2 to 3 hours, because their stomach is so small, they only take
Yeah.
small doses. And
Yeah.
And if you look at the bottom of your handout, and the top of the back side of the first page, Susan actually put a guide for you, depending on their weight, how much you can expect them to eat over the course of a day.
And the QR code that's also on there is a little more detailed, but also a link to some videos for you to watch too, on how to bottle feed, how to stimulate, how to do a flea bath if needed.
No, I just realized that
You get a little more detail with that QR
So I
code.
was trying to show off. You know, I was gonna try to look at you again.
Congratulations! You did a good job, Dana.
Did he go? Yeah.
Yeah, he did have.
Yeah, I did have a smell.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
He is sterile, it's okay.
Questions, anybody?
Is it, so if you got your kittens in the bathroom in their crate and you put on the clothes and you take them off when you leave the room and then wear them again?
Yes. I usually, when they get a little bigger and they walk through their poop and then they're crawling all over, yeah, I usually wash mine like every other day. But they are my kitten clothes. They're very distinctive. My friends all know from my my pictures that I post. I have an old pair of scrubs with paint on them. There's no way I'm going to grab those and think that they're okay to wear around the house. I know that those are my kitten clothes, and they're able to be bleached. So bleaching is the tried and true way to kill the virus that might be clinging to your clothes because they manage to get it on you.
And this is usually just during your quarantine period.
Yes.
After the 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
they're not showing any signs of illness, you don't have to keep wearing these
Right.
clothes, and then they can still have access to the house, but still in a designated spot, because they are going to still be small, so you don't want them to get stuck on the furniture or chewing any cords and things like that. But they can expand from the bathroom if that's where.
Well, and I will point out that the foster coordinator about 6 years ago got a very panicked phone call from me because I had 7 kittens in a bathroom and I walked in and gone. Like gone. The little buggers worked together to pry up the vent in the floor and they were all down in the ductwork. Oh. It took a couple of years off my life, that's for sure. Neighbors came and crawled under the house and found them in the ductwork and encouraged them back out, but I was in a panic. But always check the area that your kittens are in to make sure that it's secure. Never, ever, ever leave the toilet seat up. And just, checking everything. It's amazing how quickly they become mobile. They go from being wobbly little floppy kittens to scaling your bathroom, shower curtain.
Shower curtains or
yes.
window curtains.
And look around the room for anything toxic. No bug spray, no plants.
Toilet bowl cleaner.
Yeah, toilet bowl cleaner, no brush, because they'll chew on that. So yes, look at it from almost like if you had a crawling infant, what could they get into?
The kittens, I had an adult cat for like 12 years and I had a peace lily in the room with her and she never messed with it. She never even noticed it. And I got 3 kittens and the first time they went in that room, never been in there in their lives. All of them ran to the peace lily and started chewing on it.
Yeah,
No, highly toxic.
So I had to, she just never messed with it. But
never assume every cat, every kitten is going to be a little bit different. What one tries, the other won't, and vice versa. So yes, always.
So I had to take it out immediately.
Yeah.
Orchids
also
are
told-
non-toxic. One of the few plants.
Oh, okay.
Orchids.
It's also one of the plants I kill regularly, so it's sort of a moot point.
I think of orchids as like seasonal, and then the blooms die, and then I give them away on,
My grandmother has orchids and she has some friend of hers who just takes them and
Nice.
somehow revives them.
They come back.
I don't have that touch. I can keep animals alive. I can't necessarily keep plants alive.
Same with me.
Yeah.
So one of the
You guys are
things,
doing great.
if you guys are looking around, you notice the different personalities and how some don't want to sit still and some want to be held more than they want to eat.
She's got that one sound asleep.
Yeah. And this guy normally he will grab that bottle with both hands and go to town on
This
it.
one?
Yeah.
This
not
isn't a
having
secret
it yet.
adoption class, right?
Well, you have to get past foster mom to adopt.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I will tell you that
I got 4 now, so I don't even know.
fostering for Wake County, I'll put in a little plug for that. Fostering for Wake County is wonderful because we have such a supportive group. Everybody's willing to help. Lisa has come over and helped me out in the past. We will pet sit for each other. We will provide advice and support, encouragement. It's a fabulous system here. They provide the supplies, and then once your cat is 2 pounds and eligible for adoption, when you have a kitten in foster, 2 pounds here at this shelter, you're allowed to interview folks and meet with them and decide which you think is the best fit for your kitten. So it's really.
So they just don't give them willy-nilly to whoever.
We try not to. We really do try to find the very best home for them. So
I'll let him climb up.
as you heard, a lot of us have been here for quite a while. We wouldn't still be fostering if it wasn't worthwhile.
I originally started with a rescue.
Oh yeah?
And the rescue that partnered with Wake, and that's how I developed the relationship with Cindy and Joanne. And I transitioned over here because it's definitely a little less stressful and you have more support.
You have a lot of support.
I had 24 kittens at one time.
Well, Susan probably would have already done it.
Done what?
Trim their nails. So she got her.
Okay. I have touched this one, so I will just let it go with that. So, nail trims. You can use a baby nail trimmer from a drugstore, or you can use the very smallest of those clipper nails. What you do is you gently squeeze. You would hold them in a way where, like if you had the clippers, but you see how when you squeeze them, the nails extend, and then you just tip them. You only are going for the very tip where it starts to curve, and that's usually the sharpest part. Kittens don't really know to fight back like an older cat does. So the worst that's going to happen is it's going to be a little scratchy on you. You will be doing the cat a huge favor to get it used to nail trims, because that way when it gets adopted, it's not going to find itself getting declawed, because it will be used to and calm for nail trims. I like to wrap my, can I borrow the fleece? Yeah, I like to, much like Lisa talks about, make them feel swaddled and comfortable. And then they don't even notice what I'm doing to their toenails. If they do start squirming, the best thing that you can do is stop. Never make it a battle. Never make them so panicked that they feel like they have to flail because you're doing something that they've told you that they're not really comfortable with at the moment. You can always come back later and finish them. It doesn't matter if you do one a day, you'll get them all done. But generally, if you swaddle them like this, you can probably pretty much get all of them done in one sitting. And that way they get very used to that, and then when they're adopted, they're well on their way to being cooperative kitties for their nail trims. You're gorgeous. Hi, you're gorgeous.
His name is
Very
Superfly.
But I have plans, and you guys are in my way. These are both yours?
The friend that
Yeah,
gave
so
me,
yeah, these 4 are one letter, and then those 3 are not that different.
Did yet?
They're about a week different.
Let me see if I can.
You know, it's like,
Yeah,
His name is Stripe.
like I've got explorers to do.
yeah.
He's,
Hi.
you know, but he's like, no,
Yeah.
expert.
You getting? Yeah.
I got it in there one time, but he didn't want to suck.
There we go.
And look at you. Like you've done this the time or two.
There we go. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe not. There we go.
There you go.
Little bit. So Lisa's like, oh, at 11 o'clock tonight, they'll all be screaming for supper.
I got backup at home.
You thinking about it. You're into the choose them.
So I
More
noticed
than a suck
this
zone.
little one likes to chew.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that little girl is more of a chewer than a sucker.
And again, they lose that. Just it's a developmental milestone at about 3 weeks. They do lose that real sucking reflex. When they're younger than 3 weeks, you put a nipple anywhere near their mouth and they're game on. They know exactly what to do with that nipple. This is the developmental stage where they're starting to practice with their teeth by about 3 or 4 weeks. When they're getting their premolars and their canine teeth in, Mother Nature is telling them that they need to start learning to eat bigger, or chew on me, whichever. So when they lose that sucking reflex, that can be a time to start thinking about gruel. Is anybody familiar with gruelies? Okay. So we refer to them as gruelies here at the shelter. We will take these bottles, we will cut the nipples even wider off, and we will, it's great if you have an immersion blender. I do not, so I try to get as many of the lumps out as but you buy a puree type of food or use what the shelter has for the puree version. And you mix up your KMR and you add just enough of the wet kitten food, that the pureed type, and that you make it soupy, but that there is some meat material in that. And then same thing with the bottle. It will get clogged. I don't want to touch since I touched that. Oh, actually, different litters, right? I always keep a toothpick handy. And so they'll suck on it for a while, and then I can always tell when it's plugged. I pull it out, I take the toothpick, I clear it, and they suck some more. That usually lasts a week or less. Once they sort of get used to that and they learn to like the taste of the kitten food, the meat, it's usually typically chicken or turkey, then it's time to try the saucer. And you lay the saucer out with that soupy gruel, and you let them, a lot of times what kittens will do, they'll walk through it, and then they just by nature want to clean their paws, and then that's how they get the nutrition in. But they start to transition after about 3 weeks to 4 weeks. By 4 weeks, they should be about a pound. A healthy kitten will generally be about a pound, and they've got quite a few of their own teeth. So they're learning to use those teeth, and the soft kitten food, it's easy for them to break up and then they swallow. And then game on, they're ready to be fed regular food. But you still need to cuddle them, you still need to nurture them, provide them that comfort. You still need to keep them warm and out of drafts and keep them protected. But you don't necessarily have to be as vigilant about quarantine. You can wash your kitten clothes and put them away for the next litter. But just keep in mind that they're not the cleanest little things, and whatever you're wearing when you're fostering kittens is likely to get a little dirty faster. So those are the developmental stages. It's the total bottle feeding till they're about 3 to 4 weeks old. They'll give you the signals, and then at the 3 to 4 week mark, you can start adding some pureed kitten food in there. And then after about 4 to 5 weeks, they're ready for a saucer and eating on their own. I still like to add a lot of water to my kitten food, my wet kitten food that's out, because that way they're getting the hydration that they need. You can also start to introduce dry food, like little kitten kibble at that point too. And they take to that pretty well.
Okay. I was going to ask about the kitten teething sticks. I found these and they're online, they're on Amazon. They look like little twigs. Mm-hmm. They're thick enough to where they're not going to choke on it. I mean, these things are like 4 inches. Mm-hmm. And I got them for my cat when she was a kitten, and she loved chewing on them. And it actually taught her to chew on that instead of my fingers or wires or whatever.
Okay. I'd have to see the product. I'm a little concerned about whether something would break into pieces that they would choke on.
Definitely not. It's too thick.
But you touched on a couple of important things there. With toys and developmental milestones, we talked a little bit about how quickly, faster than you like to think, that they learn to climb and to get into things. But they also need toys, and they need mental stimulation and to learn to explore their world in a safe way. So don't go nuts with a lot of toys. I always try to tell people they'll get bored if you give them 20 toys. 1 or 2 at a time is just fine. Can't tell you the number of jingle balls I have stepped on in the dark in my bedroom, but they tend to like things that are that make noise in addition to. But yes, I'm glad you brought up sort of the whole playing and using their mouths and exploring, because that's important. It's really important for the mental stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
friend that brought kittens for me that I ended up keeping, she said to just massage their feet. And they'll just associate you doing that and you doing that all the time, and then they get used to it.
Touch their ears, touch their face, get them used to that, because the last thing you want is a cat that grows up and gets an ear infection and it's never had anybody messing with the ears, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So touching your kittens constantly and playing with them in different ways is really going to be very helpful to them moving on. Desensitizing them, yes, exactly. And you also said something really important. My husband has heard me say to the kittens a million times, Mama is not a chew toy. You do not want to encourage them to chew on your fingers or any body part, really, for that matter. What you want to do is give them a toy. One of my favorites is the wandy toy, because they're going after the little thing on the end of the wand. They're not anywhere near me with those sharp little claws. And the wandy toy or the little things. What do you guys use for your kitten toys?
Yeah, we use the wand and also that ball popper
Oh, okay.
thing that they spin the ball.
Oh, I call it the tornado.
Yeah, we have one of those because it can be clean.
Yeah.
I have like a few little feather toys, so I buy the bulk and then give some to each group, and because we can share those with the new set. And then sometimes if I don't have anything handy, I make paper balls.
Yeah. Here at the shelter, a lot of us will bring in toilet paper rolls, and a volunteer will cut them off, kind of fringe the ends of it, and for whatever reason, they love those. They go nuts over those. So You can find lots of things around the house to make your own.
Cardboard scratchers.
Yeah, the cardboard scratchers are good.
Discarded.
Yeah. Yep. But trying to disassociate your fingers or your body parts from things for them to teeth on, or
And your nose.
yeah.
Because it looks a lot like a nipple with those little tiny ones, so.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have like a little rabbit thing that basically whenever they attack my hand, I try to play with them with that instead.
Yeah,
Is that
distract.
good? Or
Mhm.
okay, I just want to make sure they weren't
Yeah.
associating biting my hand with wanting to play.
That's what they're doing, so you're giving them an acceptable play toy,
Okay.
not and removing your hand from the equation.
Good. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Because as cute as it is, and it doesn't really hurt that much, but man, they get a little bit bigger, and if they're still chewing on your fingers.
And that's their natural instinct is to wrestle with each other. That's also why litters are better than like a singleton. And because especially when you're adopting, you know, two are better than one. When they're adopting, everyone's like, I don't want to do 2 kittens, it's too much, but they have each other to play with.
Yeah.
And they'll wrestle and with each other as opposed to chasing after your feet every time you walk by, so.
I will tell potential adopters if they're coming and they're only interested in one of my kittens, I'm like, be aware. If you get one, you are the entertainment committee. So think about that very carefully. But yes, they love, it's a different kind of interaction, but it's important for them to be with other felines. But sometimes it's not always possible, but in an ideal world, we would like to see kittens adopted in pairs or into a family that already has other felines. I can't tell you the number of adopters that have only adopted one, and then 2 months later I'm getting an email, so, you have another kitten? But anyway, you can only do what you can do when you're working with a rescue group. It's a balancing act, right? You want a very good home, but holding out for the perfect home just means you can't save another one while you're waiting for that perfect home to come around. And so those of us that have been with Wake County have learned, ask good questions, really try to, get a sense of this person, and then be available to answer questions, offer advice if needed.
There's a lot of education that
Yeah.
needs to happen.
Yeah.
A lot of people, this may be like their first pet.
Yeah.
And you really have to do a lot of educating. And to Susan's point about teaching them to play in ways that don't include their mouth on you, there may be a family who lets a very small child play with a kitten, and that very small child may say, the kitten bit me. And they may return that kitten saying it bit my child, when in fact it was just playing. And it's the child that needed to be watched by the parent and educated on what's appropriate with a kitten. So lots of education if you're a foster.
Diana, why don't you come on up here and add anything that you want? I've touched this kitten and I have an insatiable desire to wash my hands so that I don't touch any of the other kittens from any of the other litters. And Lisa, you as well. You guys have had great things to add.
I think that we pretty much covered everything, unless you guys have any other questions.
I'd just like to say thank you everybody for being here. Whether you decide that you're going to try this or you don't, we just really appreciate the support and appreciate you guys coming out and learning how this all works.
Yes.
If you find kittens in your neighborhood or your yard, you'll be better equipped to help those kittens survive if mom has left them alone.
Oh, that's a very, very, very important point. There's a whole issue with people wanting to be good Samaritans and wanting to do the right thing. It comes from a very kind place, but they'll see kittens and they immediately assume, with no mama around, they immediately assume that the kitten's been abandoned, and they scoop them up and they bring them here or somewhere else. Mama's got to go hunt. Mama's got to find food on her own.
Or she needs to relocate because of the situations, and she can only carry one kitten in her mouth at a time.
Yeah.
So especially if you only find one kitten, most likely she went back for the others.
Yeah.
Because very rarely does she have a litter of just one.
Yeah, that is unusual. So watchful waiting for an hour or two and see if you see any sign of Mama. Certainly that is null if they're near a busy street, or if you see predatory animals around. You'd want to make sure that the kitten is safe. But it is far too common for humans to intervene thinking that they're being helpful, and in fact it makes it a very difficult situation for the kitten. Kittens are always best with their mama. If you can trap the mama and the kittens together, or in one set of circumstances, then that would be ideal. And maybe we could do a cat trapping training here at the shelter as well. But if you do find kittens, resist the temptation to scoop them up right away. What you could do is put the kitten in a box and put it somewhere where Mama can find it, not far from where you found it, but in a box so it can't wander away into traffic, and make it less likely that a predator could come find it. And then don't hover over it. Mama's not going to come back if you're hovering, but check back frequently. No more than, don't let more than a half an hour or an hour go by before you're checking on that kitten and just making sure that it's doing okay. Again, unless it's super cold, kittens generally aren't born in the wintertime though. Mother Nature's smart enough to make sure mamas don't go into heat to have babies deliver in the winter, but every once in a while some of them don't read the instruction manual, and they do have babies in the winter, but the majority of them are born between April and October. So usually the weather is not adverse for a kitten.
As you've heard, kitten season is usually that's when all the mamas have the kittens out at once, and that's when you get bombarded.
Yeah, it's an onslaught. So for those of you that might ever think about fostering, we would welcome you into the fold. If it's just you wanted to learn more just in case, that's fantastic too. Share what you've learned with your neighbors and friends. And please, like I said, there's not only Wake County Shelter, but there's a number of wonderful rescue partners that we deal with. Second Chance, SPCA, Alley Cats and Angels. There's a lot of them around, and everybody's desperate for bottle feeders. So I hope that you take the handout home. Look for the video online as well. And there's other YouTube videos out there. And you can always reach out to the shelter and learn more about fostering with this particular shelter if you're so inclined. And there's a QR code on here that'll take you to some videos right there. But you can certainly, if you have insomnia or if you're up with a human child in the middle of the night,
It's like a rabbit hole.
just
the more you're learning.
Google bottle feeding kittens, you'll find videos out there. Are there any questions before we gather up the kitties and take them home to be tucked in for the evening? Any other questions you guys have been?
How many of your first time bottle feeder, that's the only time because they keep the cats?
Oh no, they're like potato chips. We don't foster one and quit.
Yeah. I probably have done 250 kittens for this shelter, which sounds like a lot, but not when they come in 3, 4, 5 at a time. The easiest, if you ever get a chance to help a nursing mama, she does all the work.
She does all the work.
That's what I have.
It's the best.
You feed the mama basically so that mama can feed the kittens. Those are easy peasy.
You just weigh them, make sure that they're gaining, and then obviously making sure that mama doesn't have an infection or anything.
And weigh the kittens daily. That's why those little scales are really helpful. You weigh them daily and make sure that they're always gaining.
Stay on it anymore.
I don't want to be a
Go ahead.
Debbie Downer, but can you talk a little bit about how difficult it can be in some of we have had a couple kittens, Grulies or even a little bit older than that, who have passed because kittens are hard.
Failure to thrive?
Yeah.
Not Pan-Luke. We're not talking Pan-Luke. Failure to thrive.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
Because that was not a shock to us, because in our kitten training, we were told that would happen.
Yeah.
We sat here and said, it's not going to happen to us.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does happen.
Right.
When we were younger, we had a group of kittens, maybe 6, I think it was.
Yeah.
And one of them had a little stubby tail that we named Bear, and he
Yeah.
while all the rest were at school.
Yeah. We fostered a lot of kittens.
It does happen.
Kittens can be born with birth defects that are not noticeable externally. If they were abandoned young and had a difficult time adjusting and didn't really learn to latch on, and so therefore they were underweight, malnourished, that puts them at risk. There is a phenomenon in the rescue world called failure to thrive, and there's really no way to predict it. They don't know why some kittens do well for a while and then suddenly start to fail. That is what, again, I hate to harp on it, that is why the weighing them consistently is super important, because they might still be bouncy and cute and because they're fluffy and they look okay, but your first clue is that, wait a minute, they've stopped gaining weight or they're losing weight.
And it might also be that some of the other litter mates are more aggressive,
Yes.
fighting for the nipple, and so they don't get a chance to eat as much as everybody else. So that's also why
Yes.
weighing is important, to make sure that they are eating, or do you need to step in with a bottle?
And it's tempting when they turn into gruelies and then eating out of a saucer. It's tempting to set it down and walk away. But observing to make sure that one or two aren't getting bullied away from the saucer is really important.
And in a group of 4, each one may be developmentally a couple of days different in their abilities.
Yeah.
I just, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I want, so just a change of subject, and I may be preaching to the choir here because I know a lot of people here are already fostering, but we see a lot on social media, somebody found some kittens or a dog or whatever, and someone says, oh, don't take them to the kill shelter. And I just want to say that, like, I've worked with the people who work here for 10 years, and I've worked with the people who volunteer and foster for 10 years. And everybody here does everything we can to save every animal that we can. And you guys are part of that, either by educating people that this is a safe place to bring animals that need help, or by helping us by fostering, volunteering, donating. This is a good place full of good people who are trying to save animals. So I just want to put that out there.
Yes.
If you see something on social media, speak up and say, no, I've been there. I know what they do. I know how hard they work to save animals.
The reality is we can't save them all, but that's society's problem, not the shelter's problem. I just saw statistics the other day about the number of animals that are euthanized in public shelters, and there is a line that we use here every once in a while that we can't euthanize them if they don't dump them on us. And that is the reality. We do move heaven and earth. I have seen staff move heaven and earth, stay here till late at night working the phones, trying to find a fosterer. I'm looking at you, Robin, that'll agree to hop in a car at 9 o'clock at night and come over and take these kittens home and get something set up on a moment's notice.
That's also why it's important to make sure that you trap mom too
Yes.
with the kittens, because she's
Always
just gonna
best.
go back out and go get pregnant again.
Yes. Oh,
you know?
please.
So
Yes.
it's a never-ending cycle, and we need to make sure that all the
Right.
animals are getting spayed and neutered to stop the cycle.
I am a big volunteer with Operation Catnip, so if you're interested in spaying and neutering programs for feral and unhomed cats, I'd be happy to chat with you afterwards about getting involved in that too. But it's we can only do what we can do, and you guys are leaving here having put a kitten to sleep in the nicest way, and are just a little bit more comfortable that it's not as scary. They don't always read the user manual and they're not always cooperative, but it just takes patience and love to help them get through this important point in their development. And they will eventually eat on their own. It's like my child, when I thought I would never be able to, sleep through the night, and then voila, I was. So it's temporary. The lack of sleep, a little bit lack of sleep, is really only temporary, and it's a small price to pay to be able to get these guys launched to where they need to be.
You weigh them daily, all the way up to 2 pounds, pretty much?
You get a sense when they're about 1.5 pounds, and I'm picking up my kittens, my foster cat, all the time, and I will know, like with my own cats,
I know that little girl weighs less than that little boy.
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you get to know them really well because you're with them a lot. But
Yeah, because I mean, I have a runt, you know, I mean, that's what I call her.
Yeah.
She's obviously smaller, but even she is like, she was right at a pound at 4 weeks.
yeah,
The others were just all
yeah,
bigger. than
yeah,
her.
yeah. Some of it's genetics. Yes.
Do you find that as bottle feeding fosters for Witt County, do you keep them through to the adoption, or do you usually hand them off to like the fosters like me who have not had the bottle babies,
Right.
but do like the 6-week and the ones that need to tibble, just as we kind of look and see where we want to fit in.
We do that. We do a lot of swaps here with fosters. Some like the bottle babies. Some really only want to take them once they're eating on their own. So there was just another plea on the Facebook group that we have. My bottle babies are now eating on their own. Does anybody want to take them so that I can grab the next set of bottle babies that come in? So there's a lot of, that's another way that this organization is.
The norm, would you say, is that?
I tend to keep mine through adoption, but there are some people that understand that they are maybe in a unique situation, that maybe they work from home or they're a stay-at-home parent and they can stand a few sleepless nights, and other people that have more demanding jobs and they can't perpetually, do bottle babies around the clock. So it's very much an individual circumstance, and there's no shame in saying this is what I can do. Or this is what I like to do.
And you can even be a temp foster where you're taking over fosters that are going on vacation.
Yes.
If you just want to test it out and it's only a short term, so you can only watch them for a week or so.
Yeah.
That gives our regular fosters a chance for a break and getting their feet wet.
In June.
Say what?
I need one in June for about 5 days.
So when you do that, so the cats go to the other person's house?
Yeah.
You don't-
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And does that disturb the cats?
No.
No, because, in general, because they're together, they go with all the stuff that smells like them. They go with, I mean, they even know, like, if you give them a new bottle versus one that they've used before, like, no, they're fine.
Yes.
So, but I do, depending on what that person's house is like, I may restart my quarantine, depending on if they have animals in their home or other kittens in their home. I may restart my quarantine. So.
It is, respect the quarantine. It is a reality that some of them, I laughingly refer to myself as the ringworm queen. Yes. Sometimes we're not talking the really serious viruses. Sometimes it's ringworm that they didn't realize when they first sent them out into foster, and then all of a sudden the hair loss starts. So that's another reason to keep them in a washable environment. These kittens, by and large, were born outside. Ringworm lives in the soil. So it is not uncommon for them to have ringworm, particularly in the spring months when everything's so moist. And I don't say that to be a negative. It's a fungus. No one's ever died from ringworm as far as I know. It's just inconvenient. But we also, it's contagious. But again, with proper, I've had probably 100 of those kittens have had ringworm, and I've never gotten it because I wash constantly. I wash my clothes, I wash the environment, I wash myself.
I've also had a litter with ringworm and a litter without ringworm, and they were never cross-contaminated, so the other litter never got it, and the one that did recovered very quickly from it because they kept up with the cleaning so they don't recontaminate themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful that you are so great about taking this, because I've been really lucky to have very few in my experience. I don't even want to put it out there, but I've been very fortunate.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you take those.
It's a fungus. It's not the end of the world. But, it depends on what you're up for and what you're used to. And everybody's different, and I'm not judging anybody that says, I don't want to do ringworm kittens, and that's fine. Everybody can play a role in the fostering cycle.
For that?
It's oral, terbinafine typically, to dampen the response internally, and then externally, lime sulfur dips are still the protocol here at the shelter. that sterilizes the skin, kills the spores. So you're working top down and inside out for that. And they generally clear in a couple weeks. All right, well, I want to be respectful. Some of you probably need to go home and do homework or get dinner or just have your evening. So thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it so much. Whether the time is now for you to start raising your hand to volunteer or maybe somewhere down the future, we appreciate the fact that you were willing to come out and learn more and just see what it's all about. And then you can decide from there. All right. Thank you all. All right.